Today's lecture is on Japanese theater in the 14th through the 16th century. And in particular, I'm going to be focusing on two forms of theater, one called Noh and the other called Kyogen. And these are related forms of theater that were popular in the 14th and 15th century in Japan, and they still are practiced today. Noh theater was established after 1374 when an artist named Kanami Kiyotsugo performed before the shogun Yoshimitsu Ashikaga. And that shogun took Kanami and his son Zeami under his patronage and granted them privileges that placed them among the highest officials of the court. This was quite a shift for the standing of an actor, because at this time period, actors were considered some of the lowest people on the social levels of society. So during this time, Noh drama took on its characteristic forms. Zeami is considered the greatest of all Noh dramatists and theorists. He wrote more than 100 Noh plays, and in his theatrical writings, he established the aesthetic goals and practice of Noh. Noh is rooted in the teachings of Zen Buddhism, and in particular, there are two teachings that inform all Noh plays. The first is that ultimate peace can only come through union with all beings and existence as it stands. And the other teaching is that peace can only be accomplished by accepting that individual desires must be abandoned because they're connected to earthly things that are temporary. Nothing in life is permanent. Therefore, if you desire temporary things, you will ultimately lose them and you will be miserable. So Zen Buddhism informs certain characters that appear in many Noh dramas. Ghosts, demons, and the spirits of obsessed human beings who keep returning to the physical world because of some desire that they never had fulfilled. These characters are rooted in those Zen Buddhist teachings that I described. And although Noh dramas are varied, they all draw on these Zen Buddhist views. There are 5 types of Noh dramas. There are kamimono, plays praising the gods; shuramano, plays about warriors; kazuramano, plays about women; zatsu, which are miscellaneous plays, most often about deranged persons, usually women who have suffered a grievous loss of a child or a husband; or spirits, but sometimes they're about unmasked living characters. And then there are krimono, plays about demons, devils, and other supernatural beings. So in the original medieval program of a Night of Noh's play, there was a very specific order of events. Each type of play listed on the previous slide would be presented in the order presented on the previous slide. And by showing the plays in this order, what the evening would show is the innocence and peace of the world of the gods, human error, repentance, and the possibility of redemption, and then the glory of defeating those forces such as demons that stand in the way of peace and harmony. After the time of World War II, it was determined that the 5-play evening was too long, and so now when you go to see a Noh performance in Japan, it's usually made up of 2 or 3 plays, but they still provide this sense of the older scheme with that message going from innocence to human experience to the defeating of forces that prevent peace and harmony. In his writing, Zeami used the term yugen. That term means gentle gracefulness, and that term refers to an aesthetic code that's based on suggestion, simplicity, subtlety, and restraint. It has to do with the mysterious beauty of impermanence in which elegance is accompanied by the awareness of the fragility of elegance. There's a trade-off between the experience of things that seem elegant and the loss of elegance when that balance is gone. So Noh drama and performance capture the qualities summed up by this idea of yugen. And yugen is realized in Noh performance through various means. The stories of the plays are not presented in present time. They're presented in recollection and in reenactment, in retrospection of some past event. And it invokes a mood based on remembrance rather than a story in the present. Noh is a dance form. It's a drama that tells a story through song and through choreography. And Yugen is also realized by the makeup of the performance itself. There's a chorus of 6 to 10 narrators, and they are singers, and they sing all the lines required while a character is dancing, and they may even sing some of the actors' lines at other times. There are sections in the play that are in verse, and these are sung in a rhythmic fashion to instrumental musical accompaniment. Sections in prose are delivered often without musical accompaniment, and ordinary speech is used only when a player comes on stage between the parts of a 2-act piece to summarize what has happened during the first act. Acting, masks, and costumes in Noh are highly specialized. As far as acting is concerned, it's sometimes referred to as the art of walking, and this is because a great deal of focus is given to the way the character enters, moves around the stage, and exits. All movements in Noh theater, including the main dance, are restrained and seem to be almost in slow motion. The main character is called a shite. The main character might be masked or unmasked. Though masks are very common, they're made of painted woods, and many of these masks have been handed down for generations. There are 5 basic types of Noh masks, with many variations in each of those categories. There's an aged or an elderly person mask, there's a male mask, a female mask, masks for deities, and masks for demons, devils, and monsters. An actor will often change masks in one play. And there's no attempt to feminize the voice when a female mask is worn, because no performers are male, but they do not really try to accurately resemble a real-world female when they perform. There are characters known as waki. These are secondary characters who are generally not wearing masks. And no actors are traditionally male, but there are some female amateurs who learn and they might perform in recitals. The costumes are very elaborate and colorful. They're based on the original dress of Kanami and Zeami, their time period. The costumes are made of silk, and they're decorated with elaborate embroidery. So the medieval style of dress, the medieval Japanese style, has remained the costume for Noh throughout all these centuries. There are 4 layers of costumes, and there are many variations of each. There are outer garments. There are garments that are worn indoors or without an overdress. There are lower garments, such as divided skirts, and there are headdresses, and there are wigs. And members of the chorus and the orchestra wear simple black kimonos and divided overskirts. There are a few props, and they are conventionalized. And the fan is the most important prop. It suggests many things. It might suggest the blowing of the wind, the ripple of the water, a rising moon, falling rain, many subtle emotional responses. The meaning of the fan is indicated by the actor's movement and the music. There is sometimes a sword, and there is sometimes a spear. Location props are very simple, miniature wood, and they're suggestive as well. So a miniature wooden or bamboo structure might represent a palace, a mountain, a bedchamber, or some other place. A bamboo frame can represent a boat. There's usually not more than 1 or 2 stage properties present on the stage at any given time. The Noh stage is very specialized. It became standardized in 1615. Traditionally, in the beginning, it was an outdoor garden performance, but now these performances are built inside, but they've kept the sort of pagoda architecture inside the theaters in order to retain something of the original form. There are many parts to the Noh stage. There's the butai, which is the stage. It's roofed even when built indoors. There's the hajikakare, which is a bridge. At stage right, it's roofed as well. There's a stage roof supported by 4 pillars, and each of these pillars has a name and its own significance. There's the Shitabashira, which is the principal character pillar located up stage right, and that's where the principal character will pause when he enters to announce his name and where he comes from. There's the Metsu Tibashira, which is the gazing pillar, and this is a place where the primary character's face faces at downstage right when he recites his opening speech at the principal character pillar. And then there is the Wakibashira, which is a secondary character pillar at downstage left. And then there's the Fuwabashira, the flute pillar, which indicates the flute player's position on stage at upstage left. And you might notice that because there's a flute player here, that there seems to be some similarity even here to the way Greek theater was done in Roman theater, because the flute player was very important in their ancient theaters. So the stage is broken into three principal areas. There's the largest area, the main stage. It's enclosed within the four pillars, about 18 feet square. And then there's an area called the Atoza. That's the back of the stage pillars, and this is the rear stage occupied by the orchestra. In the main stage area, the floor is made of a polished cypress, and there are giant sounding jars placed under it so that when people stamp feet, performers stamp feet, it creates a large, impressive sound. There's the wakiza, that's the upstage left, and this is occupied by the chorus throughout the performance. The chorus sits in two rows with the chorus leader in the center of the second row. And then there are two entrances to the stage, and one is the bridge, which I mentioned. It's a railed gangway about 6 feet wide, and it's from somewhere from 33 to 52 feet long, and it leads from the dressing room to the stage. In the front of the bridge are three small pine trees that symbolize heaven, earth, and man. And the bridge is used as an entrance for the musicians and for all the important characters. And then there's a hurry door located upstage left. It's only about 3 feet high. That's used by the chorus, stage assistants, and for the exit of dead characters. The rear walls of the stage and the bridge are made of wood, and on the wall back of the orchestra is painted a pine tree. This is in the big stage. It's usually said to symbolize the Yogo pine tree through which the god descended to sanctify the first Noh performance. So the stage left wall is made of bamboo, and the audience views the stage from two sides, in front of the main stage and from the side in front of the bridge. One of the interesting aspects about Noh performance to people who are not from Japan is the presence of Noh stage attendants. Stage attendants are always present on stage during performance to assist the main actor in changing or adjusting costumes or masks, to set stage properties or remove them when they're not needed, to prompt if it's needed, in an emergency, to assume the main role if the actor cannot continue. And the attendant is usually a senior actor, and the attendant is never considered to be part of the action or the stage picture by the audience. The audience just knows not to pay attention to the stage attendant and to focus on the actors. This is a video of Noh performance that you can watch in the slideshow at your leisure. Now let's go on to Kyogen. So Kyogen is a comic form of performance. The word means wild words, and Kyogen are short farcical pieces used as interludes between Noh plays. The conventions of Kyogen were probably established around the same time the conventions of Noh were established, so that would be the 14th century. Kyogen covers a wide range of comic subjects. It places more emphasis on situation than depth of character. It shows unexpected problems that arise, in which drunkard, cowardly samurais, ignorant lords, greedy monks, shrewish women, and others find themselves. Sometimes the plays parody Noh. Occasionally subjects are taken from folklore with animals like gods or devils as characters, and 2 and 3 characters are most common. And again, this seems a little similar to Greek tragedy. I'm sorry, not Greek tragedy, but the plays of the city Dionysia, because these Kyogen plays are burlesquing the Noh plays, just as the satyr plays in ancient Greek theater were parodying the Greek tragedies. Some of the characteristics of Kyogen include prose dialogue, And most of the play is actually in prose rather than in verse. It often has short songs and dances and climactic scenes. Sometimes it's accompanied by the drums and the flute of Noh. It depends on humorous dialogue and pantomime, and it's performed according to strict conventions. And performers appear in these plays as villagers, peasants, commoners. So these tend to be, as in many traditions of comedy, plays about the common person rather than plays about rich, wealthy people. This is a video of Kyogen performance that you can watch as well. So in the Middle Ages, Noh and Kyogen were essentially aristocratic entertainments. The shoguns took in Noh under their protection, and they gave the performers samurai status. They were granted a stipend and raised through a system of national requisitions, kind of like taxes. And 5 schools or branches of Noh were recognized, and each of these was made hereditary. And these 5 schools still exist, is what's amazing. And so when the shogunate fell in 1868, Noh lost its privileged position, and it survived through those difficult times. But immediately following 1868, some societies formed to serve as patronage for Noh, to save it. And since World War II, Noh has become recognized as a national treasure, and it's drawn a very, very devoted audience. And so, as I said, each of the 5 schools of Noh exist, and today each of the 5 schools of Noh still owns its own theater.